Let me make you co-host.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
It's going really good, Sarah. I'm in New York City right now and talking to some community builders I have a lot of respect for who are getting involved in NAP, and it's going really, really well.
I was in NYC like 2 days ago, and now I'm in upstate.
Cool. Amazing.
That's cool. Who are you talking to?
Do you know, have you heard of Fractal?
Mm-mm.
Fractal NYC. Basically, they're a crew of friends who got a bunch of their friends to move into the same apartment building, and then it turned into this like scene, this incredible scene of people all in New York doing really interesting things, hosting events, starting their own like co-living houses, starting third spaces. I'm in the Fractal Tech Hub right now, which is like their co-working space for their crew. So very good.
Awesome.
Good.
I'm glad you're getting to hang out with them. Do you feel okay with what to do for the last like 20, 30 minutes?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Have you changed your write-up at all, or is it roughly the same?
Nope, should be the same.
Great. Yeah, I was happy with that to begin with, so I think we're golden.
Yeah, hopefully it's possible we'll go a couple minutes late anyways, to be honest, which is okay. It doesn't sound like we're going into like an immediate next thing with psychodrama. But I was worried the timings might be a little long.
Do you mean like more than an hour or more than 90 minutes?
More than an hour. I don't think it'll.
I went and I made the event 90 minutes long, so we have that.
Great.
Cool. Well, I'm just so excited to see how you do it, and I'm here if you want to DM me for anything, and we're good to go.
Deal. How many people do you imagine coming?
So,
Waiting room right now.
Yeah, there's 3 people in the waiting room. One of these people is somebody's like AI bot. Let's look at the calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 people that are not in the waiting room have RSVP'd.
Okay. See how it goes.
But yeah, it's up to you when we start.
We can let people in.
Okay, great. Welcome, welcome everybody. Hi, Ree. Good to see you again.
Hi, good to see you.
I'm glad this is at a time you can make.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Maia. Your hair looks beautiful as always.
What is that color?
It's purple to blue. I think it's called Velvet and Nightfall. So
Very nice.
thanks.
What kit or what did you use for it?
Pulp Riot.
Okay.
Yeah, and it stays like I haven't done it in a couple months, but it stays pretty good. It just covers the gray, which is really nice.
Oh, that's impressive. I've used Arctic Fox before, but that's the main one, so I might have to try that now.
Yeah, I used to use Pravana, but it kind of fades weird color, the blue like to greenish, and so the blue doesn't fade that. It fades nicely. So yeah, Pulp Riot.
And hi, Kirsten. You're welcome to be at this event or attend both. I'll be asking for a fair amount of participation from you guys. You can write in chat if you want, and you guys can speak aloud if you're able. but not a ton of breakouts. Justin, are you here too? You able to be on video? Okay. Savannah, you want me to wait another minute or two or get started?
I say just go for it.
Cool. So, hi everybody. I don't know if y'all know anything about me, and I don't know anything about you. So I'd love to do a little bit of introductions before we get started. My name is Sarah, and I helped kind of instigate or found the authentic relating communities. Has anyone heard of those? Kayla's pretty involved in them. Yeah, a little bit. They're like communication-based communities, so event-based communities. And there's now like 60 plus of them all over the world. And think of them a little more as distributed communities, but because they're based around communication and connection skills, a lot of people from them form houses together, form relationships together. So they're kind of like breeding grounds for connection. And recently I built community in a smaller way. I live on a farm with 7 folks, and we do a lot of hosting inventive events, and both for each other and for the wider community. So what Savannah and Kayla asked me to do was, how do we create community events that are engaging, but non-awkward in a way? Like they don't hit people over the head with connection, but they still provide a lot of opportunities for deeper connection with neighborhoods. And hello, Nate and Mel, welcome.
Hello.
It's just a little intro. We've got Colby joining us. Oh, wonderful. I thought I saw your name before. Okay, cool. Welcome, y'all. Since I don't know you guys, I would love to go around and just hear where you are and what sort of community you're founding. Like if there was like a couple words to describe it, what would it be? Ree, would you mind starting?
Sure. Hi, I'm Ree. I've met a few of you before, but I live in Dunbar in Scotland, and I've sort of helped start up a neighbourhood group recently for the town centre, which is quite sort of dense and has a mix of community spaces and a lot of sort of very old tenement flats, and is sort of the centre of the community for the town. And I'm trying to explore what I can do to build a bit more community and build up the community that's been there previously but was disrupted by COVID. Would you like me to pass on to someone in particular?
Yes, please.
Or
Go ahead.
should I pass on to Nate?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nate. Recently joined the current NAP cohort. I live in Medford, Massachusetts, and learned that there are 3 other NAP participants this cohort. So I have some peers going through the program at the same time, which is really exciting. I'm relatively new to getting to know my neighbors. I've just in the last week, I've went around and knocked on some doors to get to know some people. So I'm still in the early days of building community in my neighborhood. Also trying to get together with friends more often. So that's kind of a parallel project that I'm working on. So yeah, I'm here to listen and learn. Thank you. Oh, I need to pass it on to someone else. Colby.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's the first of these normal time slots I've been to. I'm in Austin, Texas. Live in a suburban neighborhood, and really just trying to build up connection amongst neighbors in my kind of atomized neighborhood. So excited to be here. I'm going to be off video most of the time because I need to go make lunch, but I'm listening and really appreciate it.
We'll have to connect, Colby. I'm in the same area.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, let's talk.
Let's get Kirsten, can you tell me how to
Sorry.
pronounce your name correctly?
Kirsten. I just typed into the chat.
Right, I'm sorry, I forgot that you're.
Okay.
Let's get Maya.
Hi, I'm Maya. I am taking the current nap 3 on Wednesday, the pod, and then I'm actually facilitating the first in real life person Taos cohort. So it's a very exciting step. And I live in Taos, New Mexico. It's a little town in the Southern Rocky Mountains, and there's a lot of community here, but it's kind of siloed. So that's my goal, to like kind of bring the whole like town of Taos community together. And I guess I took the facilitator training with Althred, which was fabulous. Let's see, Mel.
Hey everyone, my name's Mel. I am dialing in from Castlemaine, Australia, which is a regional town just outside of Melbourne. It's very early here, so I will be off the camera for part of the time, maybe making coffee would feel really good. The community that I am trying to bring some intentionality to how I'm catalyzing or working with is already really established here. My immediate network calls itself the West End, and we have a West End resilience network that is covers about 350 homes. I'd say there's probably about 100 active humans in that network that sort of gather face to face, but do a lot of coordination and sharing and mutual support online. Like at the moment, we've got a fringe festival in town starting this weekend, and we are doing a lot of the billeting and accommodating of the visiting artists from some of our more remote territories, which is really nice and busy. Yeah, really excited to be here. Sarah, have only just started having a look at your work online, so thought I would try and be here for the live session. So yeah, excited for this time. I'm gonna throw over to Justin if you're around. Okay.
Maybe Justin is just listening in. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know some of you are going to be moving around. I am going to ask for some participation. I won't do breakouts since folks are in and out, but I'm going to ask for examples from y'all because obviously a lot of you are experienced community builders, have communities of your own, and also a lot of your communities have histories. So there's probably been things you've done in the past that have worked. I also want to say that I don't consider myself an expert in community building at all. It's such a big field. And it's so much like everybody has their own ways of doing it. So I'm just going to give you some examples of ways that I have done it, brainstorm ways that we could do it, and give a couple of frames. And we're just focusing on events, not on facilitation, not as much on the setup, like a little bit, not as much on the one-on-one connection, because I know you guys have those in other places. And I wanted to go into what are the types of gatherings we can create and how do we make them connective without making them feel heavy. So I'm going to pull up a little presentation. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. And attempt to remember how to present it. I am great at technology. Okay. So this is the photo of me and Kayla being weird at an event. And there's 3 principles that I want to give. One is that connection happens as a byproduct wow, I can talk today. The first point, connection happens as a byproduct of intentional time together. What I mean by that is I do a lot of authentic relating things, which are all about getting people to share deeply. Okay, let's have a hot seat where everyone gets a chance to have the attention for 5 minutes and the group can ask any questions they want. Let's play a one-on-one game called the Google game, where you get to Google somebody and be like, well, if I Googled you and neighborhood, what would I find? If I Googled you and lizards, what would I find? And get the kind of search result memories. or somatic connection games where we just go back and forth and say, being with you, I notice. And I'll give you guys a link at the end to some of these basic games. But you don't need something that specific in order for people to connect. As you all know, really just getting people together is the main way, just creating bonds so that when folks are walking down the street, they have someone to wave to. So that's what we're looking for, is like as many small connection points as possible so that people can also find places to deepen. And then one of the most important points, if you want people to attend an event, make it move with the energy that people are outputting. So I saw this on, I think this was Mel's site, that Savannah put in chat, that you guys have seasonal gatherings, right? And that's a great way to do it, because it's like, okay, we all know a season is coming up. Having a gathering for it feels like something normal. And we'll talk about this later, but for instance, doing an event around Easter. Well, everybody's going to probably want some sort of Easter egg hunt for their kids. So it's an opportunity to move with the energy of a community so that people don't have to specifically find childcare or make time in their schedules. What are things they're already going to be moving towards that you can deepen or set the frame for? A really good example I have of this that I love, there's a woman that I'm friends with named Sara Lee Khan, Dr. Sara Lee Khan, and she does work with international aid organizations and trauma specifically. And she got asked in at one point to a community in Afghanistan where there'd been a terrorist attack on a girls' school, and the community was fractured by loss. And they asked her to come in and work with the trauma that was experienced in that community, work with people. Most people would come in and go, okay, let's hold grief circles. Let's do workshops. Let me provide resources. Instead, what she did is she came in and she looked at what were that community's existing rituals? What did they already get together for? And she found that the women got together over tea. The men tended to get together over weekly dinners. So instead of asking them to come to something new, she just incorporated conversations about trauma and about what people had experienced into those existing events. And it really created more community bonds. So that's what I mean by looking at where the energy already is and where the energy is already moving. What traditions exist in your community that you could just add something new into the events, or what things are people already doing? And the last thing is, the more inventive your event, the more you can set the frame. So I tend to go pretty all out with this. Sorry, I went too far. How do I go back? Okay. So a couple of events that we've done. This is our Easter event. It's called Bloody Easter. It is a giant scavenger hunt where people get into teams and each team has a color and a theme. There is a mascot for each team that creates a whole speech that they give at the beginning. There's like chants and games that the teams get to do to compete with each other. And then everybody goes off and they find eggs, and the eggs have clues in them. And the clues lead them to one of the characters that gives them a challenge. And whichever, if the teams complete the challenge, they get a feather. There's a certain amount of time, they come back. There's a whole closing ceremony. So it's an adult way to do Easter, but over time it's created a tradition, and it's a wonderful way to connect. So because that event has a lot of really inventive pieces to it that start even before the event. Okay, we're going to put you on a team. Your team should have a color. Your team is going to come up with a chant. By the time people come, they're in a different state of mind. This is a picture from, this one with the fire is a picture from my partner's birthday party that happened a couple weeks ago, where he did a really inventive theme of, what was it? Gunpowder treason and birthday cake. He knew everybody was having a lot of feelings around the changes in America. And so he decided that he was going to make that the theme, and asked people to kind of come as a representation of like a social change that they'd experienced. And then at one point had a bonfire and invited people, hey, would you say, anything that you want to put into the fire? And it created a space for people to share about what they were feeling. And this last one is of me and my husband's wedding. That's my husband, where something we did is a bride steal. which is an old tradition. And so I got stolen, and we had an MC that enrolled different members of the wedding party ahead of time into coming up with challenges that my husband had to complete in order to win me back. So this is my husband doing competitive yoga in order to win me back. So something that I am curious about is, are there any special events in your community, any places that people are already gathering or needing to gather that you could theme some sort of event around, whether it be monthly, yearly, one-off? Love to get a couple shares if y'all are open to it.
I think an obvious one is just like birthdays, like ask everybody for their birthdays and then be like, okay, guys, we're going to make this ridiculous.
Yes, that's a great one. Yeah, and finding out if people have any, it's a good thing because you can even set certain traditions where if you help somebody do a birthday, okay, like in every birthday we do an appreciation circle. You do it in one, and then in future people probably ask about it. Oh, I want one of those too. Place where everybody gets to share an appreciation of the person whose birthday it is. That's a great one.
Yeah, seasons and like this spring equinox or Ostara, always having spring thing is all the different seasons. It's always good.
Yeah. Yeah, those are
In
great.
Kirsten's neighborhood in Phoenix, I'll just say this for her because I was just there. They, I'm forgetting exactly the precise name, but they have a like a street mural painting festival where one of their neighbors organizes a bunch of artists to make murals, and people walk around and like tour the different murals on this one alley, and it sounds like an amazing time.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Just went to an Aquarius birthday party and they had a honey pot. And so everyone at the party put $5 in the honey pot and came up with an idea for community that they could accomplish in a couple months. And then the whichever idea won the pot, the honey pot. I'm like, it was an annual birthday tradition for the Aquarians at the party. And I was like, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. What a cool way to involve people.
So I don't know.
What
I
else?
feel
Any?
I think some are, yeah, yeah. Ours are a little less inventive, maybe, but just as a neighborhood, we do like end of school year, beginning of school year,
Yeah.
4th of July, Halloween, like tend to be okay. There's going to be things that happen. Like we have a pool in the neighborhood, and so those are like come out to the pool, people make hot dogs. They're kind of standard, I don't know, events.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about though, is like that's moving with the energy, right? Like end of school, everybody wants to have a party. So how do we make that a really great party and engage people in creating it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
One example, Sarah, is one of our mentors, Graham McBain in Sacramento. One of the events that he like started his neighborhood community out of was knocking on doors and saying, hey, most of us in this neighborhood have kids and we're all here for summer break. Like, let's have a summer of games where we just like schedule a bunch of outdoor activities for kids to play in, but like gamify them, make it feel like a thing.
Yeah.
And so a ton of neighbors who had kids, who didn't have kids, like had a shared project that they could put on because it was the summer and because there were kids in the neighborhood who they all wanted to bond and connect.
Yes. Two pieces I'll pull out of that. One, moving with the energy means people don't have a lot of constraints. So finding childcare is a big constraint. So how can you help people do that? Doing an event like on a weeknight for a lot of people is a constraint. Okay, what are better nights that you can do it, or how can you do it early enough? Like especially if you aren't getting people at your events, you can even ask folks like, is there anything that's preventing you from coming? Are there factors that I haven't that you can ease? And the second thing I want to pull out is this kind of piece of the events will be most compelling if you have a theme. I love that idea of summer of games, or for us, Bloody Easter, or for every Halloween that we do, we tend to have a crazy theme. Like one year it was what's it called? The Divina Commedia, Dante's Inferno, basically. In each of the rooms we had heaven upstairs and hell in the back room and purgatory in the main room, and they each had a theme and people could do costumes around them. So it gives people a little bit of an idea of what to look forward to. And I've noticed, especially in doing authentic relating events, we would get almost twice the number of people if we had a theme. People knew what to expect. This is going to be around gender or money or curiosity, rather than just, it's going to be a games night. Especially if it's a recurring event, it can help people feel like, oh, this is going to be something different. And the other last thing about this is invite people in interesting ways. Oh, by the way, this is a picture of one of our Halloween parties, which was themed around Kingdom Hearts, basically Disney. So this was the back room, which was the Mad Hatter's tea party. And then we tend to send invitations by mail. And these ones, especially if you go on wedding card sites, you can get all sorts of invitations that you can get printed with just about anything you want. And this one we went all out on. We actually wrote like why we wanted people to come on the envelope. So if you have a few people, that can be a fun thing to do. But for these ones, this was our Kingdom Hearts invitation, and everyone got mailed it. And then they got this link to a type form where we collected some information, and we also asked for donations if anyone wanted to give them. And we asked what ways people wanted to be involved. We'll talk about contribution a little bit later. People love paper invitations. It's definitely worth it. Okay. Why is this not going next? Obey me, computer. How do I get you guys away so I can press next? Okay, there we go. Okay, next one is creating events based on people's interests. So in any community, people have things that they probably want, that they like doing, that they might want to share with other people. And it can be a good thing to even ask your community members, like, who does knitting stuff? Who does woodworking? Who's really good at tax prep? Who can help people write a will? And having people help create things around this, or skill sharing workshops even, can really help. And these can also be around skills people have, skills people want to build. And it can also be like, say folks want to do a book club. There are standardized formats that you can find for book clubs. So sometimes it's good to look up, well, what have people usually done? And then put a little tweak on it. Great. People usually bring in a speaker. Well, that's great. Maybe at the start of every event, we still do a check-in. We ask everybody how they're doing. We do a rosebud thorn, which is what is something that's good in your week, something that's the rose, something that's been difficult, that's the thorn, and something that is new and exciting, or is a potential, which is the bud. So, and maybe we all end in a certain way. We say what we took away, or we share appreciations that we have for each other or for the speaker. Another beginning is you might give one person each week the attention. You've got 5 minutes. Tell us about your life. We're going to focus on you. It's a great way to start meetings, actually. I've seen a number of companies doing this. So creating rituals around it, finding out what people's desires are. I'm curious if you guys know of any interests in your community, things that people have brought up that they would like to learn, or things that they know how to do that you feel like you could build an event around.
Taos has a lot of gardening, and so there's always people want to learn how to garden because it's a 100-day growing season, so it's totally different from wherever they've transplanted in from.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hive hosts has the UNM Taos Hive. They use a free community thing, and they have like computer tutoring, and they've now asked me to tutor for QuickBooks. So, but I'd like to involve more of the community in the skill sharing set just there.
Yeah. Any ideas on how you could include them in that sort of skill sharing and teaching?
I'm
Try it.
not really sure yet. We've talked about like game nights and like stitch and bitch, like knitting and crocheting things, and trying to reach out to to maybe have it like, oh, a donation for the change community closets, and that way people can get involved and no one's excluded from not being able to pay for a class. And that would be, so try to be very inclusive and all the things that I'm trying to do and create.
Nice. Yeah, especially when it's some sort of skill sharing or teaching event, it can be really good to ask if the person who has the knowledge would like to host and say, hey, I'll work with you on it. Like, you're not going to be alone in figuring out how to host, but like, let's talk about what you want to do, what it might look like, what's a good space for it. I'll be there to co-host with you. To get them to take some agency on it can be really nice.
Yeah, we have one member of the cohort that really likes outdoor hiking and things like that. And so they said, but they didn't want to host. I'm like, well, I will totally host a hike for you. And that way you take people on the hike and I will like organize it for you. So that way it takes that kind of pressure off them and be right there with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyone else, other things that your community might be interested in or skills they might have that you could offer?
We use our seasonal potlucks as a little bit of like a pulse check and like a little bit of like a, everybody moving around like buzzy bees, being able to like learn what one another are into and that sort of thing. And we do maybe like 15, 20 minutes of like announcements in the whole event. It's a pretty big meal, somewhere between 30 to 50 people show up. And one of the things that we speak to is this kind of idea of bossless leadership. So we sort of just talk about how actually this network, we sort of want it to be self-led. And if you have a thing that you're into, then like you can just start something. And we invite folks to talk to us, being like this very loose kind of group, if they want to know more or if they want support, and then we kind of get call outs of updates from other interest groups. So we have a stitching group, we have a renewable energy group, we have like a planting on our verges, gardening on our verges kind of group, that sort of stuff. So we try and kind of do it in a loose-ish sort of way. And then the WhatsApp community is really, really pivotal in landing those things, birthing them into reality, and then letting people know when they're on. And usually they start pretty small, like 2 or 3 people show up, and then it kind of gets traction, or it ends up being a one-off or whatever within a few months.
I love the inventiveness in your community. And yeah, it's like when something gets traction, when something becomes a norm, people will pick it up. But sometimes you got to be the awkward person. Keeps being like, okay, guys, who wants to host this month? Who's got an idea? What's the thing? And then once the community picks it up, it can become a tradition. I didn't see that folks were posting in chat. I'm going to read some of these for the recording. Canning and preserving. A neighbor started a wine club. Another started a coffee and crafts event. Porch concerts, if you have musicians and bands in the neighborhood that can put on a show in someone's front yard. Yeah, Savannah mentioned the verge, the front yard, the strip of land between the road and the sidewalk. This is a point like having some place to host is essential. Like, what is your community center? Or can you just do it in people's lawns? But if it removes another barrier to entry, right? If people don't have to find a space of their own. A couple folks posted about events they do for special occasions too, like a Halloween bike ride through the neighborhood. People dress up and ride around to look at decorations, go through the haunted alley, into the huge haunted house. I have a friend who does that in their neighborhood, and they have one old man that puts a maze up every year of like fence posts and plastic between them. Also, Loteria, kind of Mexican bingo. People make artwork that goes on the cards, MC that calls out the cards and does a tiebreaker activity, DJ, food truck prizes. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. And the last one I wanted to talk about are needs. So what are things that folks would need to pay for or would be looking for help on already that you can provide. If folks need a garden, they need food. How can you create a planting party? Or you have a community garden and you need people to maintain it. What does it look like to have planting days? Moms groups. You want to have a moms event. Who looks after the kids? Maybe one person at a time does that. You've got elderly neighbors that have needs, like somebody to do groceries for them, painting a garage. Maybe you create a WhatsApp group to coordinate those people. And then that WhatsApp group leads to those people having gatherings. And then kind of barn raisings. What is an event space that the community could use, like a communal workshop or a communal gathering place? Bringing people together for short run projects where they feel like, okay, I know the beginning and the end is really good in a sense. It feels like less of a commitment. And then if it wants to keep going, it keeps going. So my question is, are there any needs that your communities have that you could see building around? Either ones that you've already met or ones that you could see meeting?
One of our community members that just hosted the potluck a couple weeks ago and is an artist and farmer. Their house and like studio and greenhouse burned down Tuesday with the winds and the fire. And so definitely could see like, rallying around that to help him rebuild. And one of the other members out on the mesa, like their house burned down and everyone came around and like cleaned up the stuff and made sure their pets were rehomed and things like that. So that's always nice and helpful for people.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, and the groups and connections that get created out of it, right? Like you could invite, hey, like, would you host like a little gathering in your new place, like a thank you party where we could all come and we could celebrate your new place. And that would be another way to bring the community together. Nate, you've got one?
Yeah, hi there, everybody. This has been great. I've been listening in. Sorry, I haven't been able to be on camera. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and one of the needs in my neighborhood was like third spaces or public spaces for kids to play. And so one way we addressed that was a community garden, but half of the garden is a nature play area for kids. And then another aspect of that was our local school playground. It has a playground, but it's always locked up because some bad things happened in the past, and so they locked the space up. So we've been organizing to create access to that space for the community after school hours and during the summertime. And that was certainly a need for us, was outdoor play space for kids, and that really galvanized people around that.
That's lovely. Yeah, sometimes I like that because like sometimes there are rehabilitatable spaces or small ways to do it. Like Kirsten's comment about a neighborhood tool shed that's just a shipping container in someone's front yard. What do people need to share? Any others, ones that you've created, or another one in chat, like loving to see a mom's group or a dad's group? Any other places that people could come together?
One thing that we've tried to run in our community is the town centre where I live sort of has a lot of very old buildings in poor condition. If it's only 100 years old, it's relatively new. And so we've tried to run some sort of skills workshops on, say, repairing old stone walls that are crumbling or doing window repairs. And there's a sort of heritage skills training centre in the local community who've helped to run some of those. But things like that, getting people engaged in their local environment, have had quite good turnouts, and people have been quite enthusiastic about being able to contribute to developing their neighborhoods in that way.
Yeah, that's a great one. Restoration projects. Something I like to keep an eye on with those too is like for any project that serves a subgroup but doesn't necessarily have a way to include others, like say it's a very physical project and some of the elderly neighbors or disabled neighbors won't be able to do it. Well, could you ask simultaneously, like could you go and say, hey, would you mind having some baked goods for this and sitting out, or cheering us on, or providing lemonade, or what is it that you could ask them to do to help? Or for a mom's group, is there anything that the kids can do during that? Can they form a little squadron and do a cleanup, or can they also make some sort of cake or something? Like, what is it that they could do to contribute? Because everyone often wants to help in some way.
House has acequia cleanup days where people go and help clean up the acequias in people's yards and properties for the flood irrigation, because they get all, icky all winter, and that's a great garden planting. There's a few community plots in town where people will say, hey, I need help with this, and on the farm and garden group, and people come and just show up, and which is great, and they offer jam from last year or something like that, and so it's always really nice to see.
Yeah, there's a great thing you guys are talking about, which is there's a distinction between I have to host an event for this and people are gathering or helping out based on a thread. And there's more or less formal gatherings. One is I'm going to do a big Easter event and I'm going to set the frame so that I can be really inventive with it. Another is I'm going to do a pretty simple back to school potluck where it doesn't require a bunch of preparation, but everybody is going to show up and bring something. Another is a more informal gathering. A neighbor gets hurt and people gather at their house just to help out. And this last one is that sort of there's a thread and people show up as needed. And I like having a mixture of these in community. I think all of them have value in their own ways. Okay, let's talk about contribution and roles. There's a number, I've put a number of potential event roles here, like things that you could think of. So there's the organizer, which a lot of the time is us, but it doesn't have to be. Asking people to be greeters. Hey, when people show up, if they don't know anybody, could you just say hi to them, or could you introduce them to someone else in the room? When you ask people for this role, it's always good to tell them why you asked them. I know that you're someone that knows most people in the neighborhood. I know you're really good at making people feel welcome. Would you show up and do that at the event? If they're asked if they feel wanted, they're much more likely to show up. Would you bring snacks? Or would you help put the snacks out? Would you help me with cleanup or setup? Would you facilitate a meditation at the beginning for everyone to drop in, or a couple of yoga poses to help us stretch? You can ask multiple people to do things like this throughout. Would you do a song? You're great at community songs. Would you teach us a call and response one to end with? You can ask people for help at 5 minutes of an event and they'll show up at the whole thing because they feel special. You got to remember to actually have them at it, or give them space to do that piece, which is one reason it can be nice to even ask for smaller things at first. Esthetician, who is going to beautify the space? I am really bad at this. So I like having someone specific that I say, you are great at decorating. Can you come in and just zhuzh the place up a little bit? Tell me where to set chairs, hang some lights around. And then speakers, asking people in your community to be experts on something, especially if you're going to have Skillshare. Would you come in and teach us a little bit about, gosh, I've even had Skillshares with things as simple as someone's taught how to walk. Someone's taught how to play rock, paper, scissors, or how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can have a silly skill sharing day where people share very obvious things. Any other roles that y'all can think of that you might have at events?
Well, there's greeter, but there's also introducer and just weaver connector, where if I have a neighbor that knows everybody and there's new people arriving, I might say to them hey, can you make sure to introduce that person to this person? I would think that I would have to do that as the host, but I can actually just give that job to somebody else with the frame of can you weave this group together? And they'll probably take a lot of purpose in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great thing to think about, is what roles am I holding that I could pass off, even little ones.
Mm-hmm. Taking pictures is another one.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how Shawnee taught the first person like how to greet the people and how to explain the game with the bingo, and then they pass it on to the next person and the next person. That's a great way to just keep passing it along.
DJ's another good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are great. Musician.
Organizer of kids games.
Yep.
Fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes also comms around the event, like the reminder message or following up something afterwards, or if something needs to be captured and shared to people that weren't able to make it.
Note taker.
Harvesting, that thing.
Oh, vibe checker.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Can you say more about how you see that role?
Well, to make sure how how the vibe's going and making sure everyone's going to have their needs met, and like trying to it's kind of the taking the temperature and like the weather of like the party or the groups, and trying to help and I guess facilitate the ebbs and flows of a gathering, an event.
Yeah, in our events we'll often have something we call the ninja facilitator. And the ninja facilitator's job is to be in the event and get a sense of the vibes. Because oftentimes as an event producer, I'm like having to go from one thing to another. I don't quite know how people are doing. So the ninja facilitator is there to tell me, okay, what's it like on the inside? And even suggest, like, hey, I think we need a playful activity. I'd love to offer one. Or so-and-so could probably offer one.
I like that. Instead of vibe checker, the ninja facilitator. I like that. I'm going to use that.
But yeah, that point, Sarah, of like half of this is just listening for the gifts and the propensities and the like the interests and the excitement level of the people. And I mean, like in my neighborhood, there's a woman who's a beautiful artist, and I was like, oh, would you do the illustrations for the flyers that we put out?
Mm-hmm.
And she loved doing it because it took her gifts and it gave her a chance to contribute, specifically doing the things she enjoys the most.
Yes. Yeah, every event we do, this is one reason we always do type forms. We do paper invitations and it has a QR code and you scan the code, or if there's a Facebook event, there's a link. And one of the things it says is like, hey, what do you want to do to help? Here's the different roles we need. Like check some of them. And then we contact all those people. We say, hey, here's what we could use. And it engages probably a quarter of people at the parties are helping out in some way. This picture is actually a leadership training that we do where we have as many staff as we have participants, and the staff is more competitive than the participation is. So we'll have like 24 staff and 20 participants, and the staff are all there just to help out. And there's very clear roles. In the group, we have butlers and lovers who are there. So, you can get water or tea without having to leave the group, or you can get like hugs and space holding if you're having a hard time. They have little name tags on. There's a course lead tender because the course leads get exhausted. The organizers get exhausted. So there's someone to bring, honey lemon tea or to ask what your needs are. Wow. So everybody feels like they have a way to contribute, and they get to have their own staff meetings and play games with each other. So having those, I also like the idea of having separate groups that do separate things in community. I've often had really good results by having an organizer group and a participant group, and you can flow equally between them. So there's not a lot of barrier to entry. Like you can join as long as you're willing to give something back.
I am definitely going to do this whole type form thing. This feels like such an awesome idea because I've definitely been invited to an event that I didn't know anyone at, and I was just like, well, what am I going to do with my hands? Like, and then if someone had sent me a fun type form where there were like interesting fun jobs, not just like you're doing the dishes, deal with it, like I would probably feel less anxious about going to a group that I'd never been in before. And I bet a lot of other people might feel that way too.
Remind me at the end and I'll post a link to one of ours so you can see what it looks like.
Okay, great.
And I'll show you in a minute one of the other ways we kind of prompt this, but the other thing I'll say is like, make it fun. So make the less fun jobs fun. So for instance, our parties, we have a norm of contribution. We kind of assume if you're gonna come, you're gonna participate in some way. And we'll say at the beginning, like, grab an extra dish and clean it up. Put something in order. Like everybody gives back here. And because people see other people doing it at 3 a.m. when the party is wrapping up, and my husband, who's, I'll go to bed at 11 p.m., midnight, I'm boring. But he'll be like, all right, I'm doing the dishes. Who's with me? And everybody will help. The house is almost always cleaned up from parties by noon the next day, just by people who stay over. But for instance, we have a tradition at our Halloween event that after all the cleaning is done, everybody picks up the "let me file that under fuck it" sign from my husband's desk and takes like silly photos with it in pairs. And then I frame those and I put them up on the wall behind his desk. So you can create little traditions. What does it mean to help with these things? How do you feel acknowledged for it? I'll show you real quick also in terms of contribution. So this is the invitation for our last Halloween event. The bit that number one, for people that have high information needs, letting them know what to expect is really useful. You're going to get a higher turnout. And a lot of people are like this. You'll find that elderly people, people on the spectrum, people that have high anxiety, sometimes they won't come because they just don't know what to expect, where their exits are, what they can do to contribute. So trying to make those needs some of the ones that you need are important. And then you've got this line: every attendee is expected to come prepared with a quest, riddle, or challenge to offer others, or so help me, you will be branded as a tourist, complete with compulsory mouse ears. This was a Disney themed event. And this turned out to be a brilliant thing. And by the way, in the type form, which I'll share with you, my husband put together a custom GPT that you could ask. Be like, I don't know what my costume should be. I don't know what quest to bring. And it would give you ideas. So you weren't left on your own to come up with this. But it gave everybody something to contribute. So people were there with the most inventive challenges you could imagine. Someone had created a scavenger hunt that you went all around the place. A lot of them, had actual items. Someone else was like having people write down wishes for the night and then handing them to other people. There was a lot of just great stuff in it, and it had everybody feel engaged in contribution. And there was something about the tourist thing, which is like, you still had a costume, you were just a tourist. So we've been experimenting with that recently. Like, what is it like to do an event where we say, this is the thing that we want everybody to bring or everybody to do. This is the way to participate. And that's actually worked really well for us. At Joff's birthday, we asked people to bring a bucket list item, and we created a space for folks to do bucket list things. There's also, I'm going to talk about activities next, having an offers and needs board. Has Kayla talked about what an offers and needs board is, or have you guys talked about that? Okay, I love this so much. I initially got it from Joel Zaslowski, who's amazing community builder. But if in person, the way I like doing this is you have a board up and you can introduce this as a start of the event. You can make a specific type of the event to talk about it. I consulted a church recently for their 40th anniversary celebration. I was like, just put this up as like a bulletin board. People will figure it out. On one side, you have offers, and the other side, you have needs. For each of them, people put their name, their contact information, and then something they can offer, which could be, I can offer piano lessons. I can offer childcare. I can offer space holding. I can offer a lawnmower for borrow. It can be anything. And you make as many cards as you're willing to offer that thing. So it might be like, you're willing to offer 2 guitar lessons, you create 2 cards that say it. So people can actually pull them off the wall and take them home. And the same thing with needs. I need childcare once a week, so my husband and I can go on a date. Here's my contact info. I need to borrow something, whatever it is. And it's just a beautiful way to create community connections. And you can keep it up indefinitely even, and have people able to add to it and take things down. Yeah, there's another way to kind of do it during workshops that's a little more built out, where each person has a card of their own, but I like doing it this way because it's easy to just pick things up. It's a really good way to create more connection. These are a whole bunch of activities that you can do at different times during events. So that's kind of an open-ended one. These are open-ended, are things that you can insert wherever. neighborhood bingo. One of you talked about this earlier. It might be the same thing. You have a bingo card. You found out information about various people in the community, and they're in different squares. So, like, who here moved from California? Who here has 5 cats? And as you go around the event, you're seeing how many bingos you can collect. Call and response songs. If you have some sort of event, like say a garden party, doing a call and response song with people. Any activity that gets folks to do the same thing at the same time is highly impactful. You can look up some great call and response songs. I have a few that I use, but if you just Google it on the internet, you'll find plenty of them. And then say you also have a co-creative event like a garden party or a barn raising. Send people off in pairs or triads. Like be like, okay, I'm coordinator. If you need any, thing to do, come to me, or ask someone else in the community to be the point of connection for I need a job. And then they make sure that everybody's doing it with somebody else. And that creates really good organic connection. At the start of events, you can, so these are for events with set start and end times, the start and the end. Or start and end times that you create. So for parties, for instance, around 11 p.m., we'll usually bring everybody together to just do some announcements, say what we're doing here, what we really want for people, what are the norms we're trying to establish, and saying deliberately, like, this is why we're doing this event. This is what I want out of it. I'm doing this event because I want us to have more one-on-one connections so we can turn to each other in times of trouble. I want us to have a lot of fun at the beginning of the school year so that we remember it all year. I want us to create a tradition of celebrating each other's birthdays because I want each person here to feel how special they are to all of us. That is really enrolling. Instead of just being like, we're having a potluck. Why are we doing it? What can you involve people into? What culture can you set for your community? Having a group check-in question could be as simple as, how is everyone doing today? Or what are you wanting here? Could be a little deeper, like that idea of rosebud thorn that I gave at the start. Or what is something you're desiring in your life? What's something that's been difficult for you lately that you could use support in? Once you've warmed up a group, you can go a little deeper with these. Pair check-ins, I like starting with these first, even before group check-ins, because some people aren't fully comfortable speaking in the main group until they've checked in with someone else. So just saying, okay, I'd love everyone to find a partner. Raise your hand if you don't have a partner. Okay, go towards someone else with their hand up. I'd love each of you to just, like, you got 3 minutes each, share how you're doing. What's it been like in your life lately? Or share, like, what it's like living in this neighborhood. Share something you'd like more of from your neighbors. It makes space for everybody to get to speak, not just the more extroverted ones. People remember starts and ends most, so they are important things if you can to create connection at. And then at the end, having each person share something they're taking away. For things that are kind of like open-ended, like people are wandering in and out, you may not get to do this, but if you have a thing with a defined end time, any highlights you have from the events, anything you learned. I like doing call out appreciations too. Say you had a work party. Okay, people can stick around longer if you want, but we're going to do a bit of a closing circle. Who do you want to appreciate for something they did today? Call out their name, give them a shout out. And then tags. Tags are one of my favorite ways to create ongoing connection. You, in the group, say, you point to someone, you say, so-and-so, I've got a tag for you around this thing. Maybe you had a conversation that didn't quite finish. Say, I've got a tag for you around talking to you about your son and autism. You mentioned that. I'd love to connect around it. Oh, Savannah, I've got a tag for you around talking about, like, getting kind of like more of an idea of what people in the community are doing, because I'd like more inspiration about what are the different ideas of community. Like, maybe I haven't even had a chance to say that to Savannah yet, but it's been in the back of my mind. And now both of us know it and both of us can follow up. And the last thing is at specific times. So this specific timed events are good when you have an open-ended one, where there's not going to be an easy time for everyone to connect. You create one. Okay, I'm not going to set super strong context at the beginning or the end, but there's going to be one time we're going to do a bonfire at midnight. we're going to have one moment where we bring out the birthday cake and everybody sings and we take that opportunity to do appreciations. Yeah. Any other things that you would add to this, that anyone wants to throw in, activities that you've loved for any of these categories?
I just love the like shape. It's similar to your appreciations of like a gratitude circle. It's just like I'm grateful for this, like at Thanksgiving. But we did a weekly potluck for a long time where we always had a gratitude circle, and it was such a good way to frame all the following conversations that happened that night, because you had like one little thing you could go up to somebody and talk about from that moment. Yeah. And then I'm here at Fractal New York City, and something they do at their like weekly like dinner gathering is they would actually have their friends stand up and do like a 3-minute lightning talk on something they were excited about or passionate about. And what it meant is that now people's passions are in the room. These like really niche conversational topics are now in the room, and like everyone can respond to that. It like seeds conversation into the room.
Yes. It's something that I would love us all to think about, is how do you seed conversation? How do you make it easier to go up to somebody and know what to talk to? Another way you can do this is just saying on your, like if you have name tags, on your name tag, write one thing you're really interested in that you'd love to talk about. And that way people have something to start with.
I do this whenever we go on neighborhood hikes in my neighborhood. As people are rolling up to the meetup spot, I say, okay, let's all go around in a circle and you say your name, give us a stretch we can do to take care of our bodies. So now we're all like in our bodies, we're looking ridiculous, but it creates this like silly culture. And then one thing you'd love to talk to somebody about. So same exact thing. And like at any point you have like something you can at least start something with anyone.
There's also, I'll give one more and then I want to hear from you, Maya. There's something as simple. So there's what do you talk to someone about, and then there's who do you talk to. I ran a small conference once and I gave each attendee a card that had 4 names written on it of other attendees, and at the bottom it just said find a why. And all throughout the weekend, people had 4 other people that they could go up and connect with. And I'd actually like kind of sorted for, okay, I think these people have similar interests, but you can do that picking at random and it's almost as good. There's some research on this.
Makes me think about like, oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Just,
I was just
real
saying,
quick, like
Savannah and then Maya.
I walked in, I'll walk into like a party when I'm feeling kind of shy and I'll be like, I promise you, like there's somebody really magical in this room that you have to meet. I'm saying it to myself. And then like that attitude will then create more beautiful conversations than if I was just kind of passive about how I'm orienting to the thing.
Very nice.
I think you did the same thing there.
At our more formal, like sit down kind of like, happy hours or, things, we have cards that have like kind of conversation question starters, which are really great because someone will go like, when was the, first time you felt, at ease, or just different things about, different moments in your life, and people think back and like everyone answers like the questions like in their immediate area, and like people are like, oh, I want to take the questions home. Like it's always really good, like just to have like them spread on the table and people just pick and choose which one they want to answer, or what they really want to find out about another person that they've just met around next to them or something. So I always really like those
Question cards are awesome. I'm seeing also one from Mel. We have a big map printed out on the wall and people put stickies where they are in the neighborhood, which tend to spark conversation at the board. Yeah. There's a great one, Maya. My favorite one of those is called Conversation Menus. It's by the School of Life. And you can put them out for dinners, and they're nice because they have like stage levels of depth. We've got like the appetizer conversations and the, main course conversations and the dessert conversations. on different themes.
Versus like the spiciness level, like how deep you want to go, how spicy do you want to go?
Yeah, they just kind of found an inventive way of doing that.
Yeah, I like that.
Any last shares on activities? Okay, I'm going to give you guys this presentation too, so you can use it. So in a moment, we're going to go into some group planning. I am actually going to step out because I am in the middle of a psychodrama workshop right now, and I'm pausing to work with all of you, which has been wonderful. So Savannah is going to lead off some small group brainstorming of an event that you want to host, and how do you take some of these ideas to make it connective. I'll post this in chat. But if you want to follow up with me, I've put my information here. These are the two companies I work with. I'm a board member and researcher with Seek Healing, and I'm the founder and facilitator and course creator at AuthRev. So feel free to hit me up about any of these things. I would love to keep in touch. I'm going to put the presentation in the chat, and then let me pull up that type form as well.
Yep.
Not full screen.
While she does that, I'd love for y'all to come off mute and just give a little thanks to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'll hold on to this presentation too. Okay, cool. So as Sarah said, let's drop into a little group brainstorm. There's not too many of us, so I think we can all just stay on the same group here. And I'd love to hear what ideas came up for you that you'd like to apply in your neighborhood. Bye, Nate.
I definitely want to start hosting theme parties again. Did them back in California from a community, and now that I'm getting to know my neighbors and the community here, I'm like, every party I've ever gone to in the last like 15, 20 years has always been a theme. So I'm like, oh, I just love that. I'm like, oh, I forgot how much I love that. And like adult, egg hunts and things like that. I'm excited.
Totally. Who else? Nate, any ideas?
Yeah, I like the putting up the map, because then people can kind of see, oh, we live right next to each other, or have you checked out that park near our house? Or I think anything that can help spark conversations. I also like the idea of like having conversation starters. I have like a deck of cards that have like some pretty intimate questions. I probably don't want to start out with those ones right away, but maybe some of those appetizer cards would be good to just, if people are like a little shy and they don't know what to say to their neighbors, just have like something they can kind of, icebreaker type questions. I think would be good to have.
I want to spark to Kirsten's prompt about doing little talks events, because I've been thinking about that too. Like we've been thinking about doing a fuck up nights here, just because like it's pretty hard to talk about failure in Australia, and it seems to be a bit of a barrier a little bit in this community. When things go wrong, when there's conflict, things tend to get a little bit stuck. So that's really fun. But if that's too hot or too deep for us, we were thinking, Kirsten, there's like a Pecha Kucha kind of format, where it's like 20 slides, 5 minutes. So there's like really short talks, which could be really fun as well.
I'm super into this idea of having a type form with like fun roles that are sort of like quests. I just think that is so cool. And I love the like explicit invitation into a thing like that. And I also love the handwritten, or not necessarily handwritten, but like the physicalized invitations. And just thinking that there's like a wedding card service that I could like ideally punch everybody's addresses into and it could just be done is like really lovely. And I'm like, damn, like I know my neighbors' addresses and I'm like, oh, but I could also invite my friends. I just need to know all their addresses. So it's like my brain's going to data collection, but I think that would be so fun. I'm really excited about that.
I really like the hand, snail mailed invitations, and then also bringing in the digital, like the type form. I'm excited to see what all the different roles they have. Sarah has listed as different ideas, and everyone shows up at a party and goes, "Hey, what can I do to help?" So having pre-assigned parties, or not parties, pre-assigned roles would be great, and you don't have to think. Oh, let's see.
Cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of play here.
Yeah.
Email. Anyway.
No, I was like, yeah, I brought it up, but I didn't get to the role part yet either. So I was hoping to do that, but it's I really like that type form idea, and then collecting the data, especially if you don't have everyone's like contact info, but you have your neighbor's address because you can find their address well. Well, at least where y'all live, but not in Taos because mail doesn't come to our houses. It's PO boxes.
I think it's been interesting. Sorry. Oh, I was just thinking it's been interesting for us. I feel like we've found ourselves up against some limitations of formalization. Like we definitely don't want to be a registered organization or club or members association in any way. And we definitely don't want to have a database of all of our people. And that I think they're really interesting design choices, because I feel like if there's something about trying to have this movement grow in a way that's bossless, which when things like private data, private information like contact details or addresses or whatever come into like a situation that's more bossless, it can feel a bit more complex, I think, for a neighborhood that's really diverse. And so yeah, that's been like an interesting part of the journey, because I also am like I will take notes on my phone, like this person, this is the name of their dog, or this is where they live, and all of that kind of stuff. And that's like a level of data collection that feels like okay for me, but there's some strong opinions here about not wanting to formalize any of that stuff. Yeah.
Mel, did you call it a fuck up party?
Yeah, fuck up nights. It's like a movement. There's like a whole playbook. Yeah.
Fuck up nights.
And then and then there's like a yay we failed journal, where it's like more like a blog if you want to do a yay we failed. Yeah, they're so powerful. They're really incredible.
Yeah, I know someone. Oh, go ahead.
It's on a different topic. Go for it.
Oh, I was just like, it was good. Someone on, I think the Friday pod wanted to start a coffin club. Like they're like worldwide. And so like you write your own obituary and like plan your own funeral, and like you have how you want it. Yeah. And so there's a thing called the coffin club. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. One of my neighbors, actually, that was how I met her on the trail. And she's like, oh, tonight I'm hosting a death party. You should come. All right, we're going. And then we did. And it was exactly that. Like you wrote, when you get your name tag, you write like the year you think you'll die, like, and the date it's just like very alive and very thoughtful. And then we got paired up. Everybody took a name from a hat, and that was the person that you were going to go give the obituary of, which was such a great way to facilitate conversation, because then it became my job to like go know this person really deeply so that I could give them a very good obituary. And so the task of it pushed me to then like really, really understand who they are at a very deep level. So I thought that was fabulous. Something else I wanted to say on this topic of like event design is Sarah hit on the topic of roles, and one of the like peak experiences of community that I've felt in my life was when I was a part of this thing called family dinner. And every Tuesday night for 2 years, we would have a really sweet potluck at this one house in Boulder. But the cool thing about family dinner that I think made it grow and made it really successful was that there was a role called head chef to family dinner, where every week there was a different head chef, and that the head chef was nominated by the prior head chef. And that head chef got to determine what the theme for the food was for the potluck. And the themes were ridiculous. Like one theme was like layers. So every dish had to have multiple layers in it. So you had cakes and lasagna and baklava and like 7-layer bean dip. But then you also had like all the different like foods from around the world. So, and we went into like really niche, cuisines and stuff. But because the ask was go be like make a substantial meal for the potluck, pick the theme for the night, and then choose who the next head chef is. Like wasn't that big of a lift, but it gave people the sense of ownership of like, wow, I must fucking belong at family dinner because they're asking me to do the thing. And so we would strategically, like I would actually go over and like whisper in the ear of the current head chef and be like, hey, like I really think you should choose so and so. They've been coming a lot and it would probably mean a lot to them to be like the next head chef. But it was this way to like intentionally weave the people into the thing so they really felt like they were a part of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like pinnacle role that rotated actually felt really special. And I think I definitely plan on doing that exact shape again in my neighborhood because it just worked so well.
Yeah,
I like.
sorry, the themes remind me of, I have a friend who every year she puts on a wine and cheesecake party, or the theme is like cheesecake, and there's just like a giant table full of every possible imaginable cheesecake you can think of, like probably like 24 different kinds of cheesecakes. And then I have a
Sick.
friend who does World Nutella Day. So every year on World Nutella Day, he just has like a Nutella tasting contest where you have to like vote on your favorite Nutella. And it's like Nutella themed. Everything has Nutella in it. It's a little bit, overkill, but it's fun. And then there was a mention of doing the TED Talks, and that reminded me of an event I'm going to tonight, which is a storytelling night.
Yeah.
I have 5 storytellers are gonna share like 5-minute personal stories, and then there's designated listeners who are not telling stories, who are just showing up to like hold space for the people telling the stories.
Cool.
It has a theme. The theme is transitions, so everyone's going to be talking like a life transition that they went through. So that's another really cool event that I'm looking forward to. I'll put the link in the chat in case you guys want to check it out.
I love that idea, and I'm very struck. It's a reminder that because I'm really excited about weaving together some of the people in my neighborhood who've lived there the longest and been like, can we go on a walking tour of the neighborhood and can you tell us a story of like the history of this place, or like a beautiful event that happened in your life here, like you raised your kids here, like can we go to the park and can you share what was meaningful about this park to you? I think there's something about that would just be like so rich, both for the elder, but also for the people who want to feel more bonded to the place, kind of thing.
Yeah, we have had like little walking tours or like open studio or open gardens, like those sort of themes where if you have a morning you can like wander around and check out like how somebody's planting up their garden and get some tips and like da 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 da. It's really cute. Yeah. I was just thinking about how to theme out the asks and offers, because I think that's one of the things that I want to incorporate into our potluck events, which is sort of the more general, like more, inclusive, welcoming, not special interest sort of gathering that we have. And I was thinking like on one of them we could do like a swap table of like food and produce, that would probably be the one that's just gone, which is right at the end of our summer. Like our gardens are all like exploding at the moment. Maybe you could do like one that's like bring books, so everyone's like this, like kind of give what you can, take what you need, whatever, like a big table. But I know that there was people just bringing almost like, well, you don't want to do general garage sale stuff because then you get like a whole bunch of junk. But yeah, I'm trying to think about how you can theme it to get it a little bit more, the invitation a bit more specialized. Yeah, it's really good inspo.
We just had a clothing swap at our community potluck last week. It was great. So like I got like these really cool overalls and like and then like some like sweat, but I got to like empty out your closet, kind of like that spring cleaning or fall anytime of the year. But clean out your wardrobe and bring some clothes to share, take what you need, and the rest goes to, a local shelter. And so that felt really good to like see all these cool clothes and different things, and then take a couple things, hopefully less than you brought. And that was a great theme for the Pollock.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Any more to share? You guys feel like we should just wrap up? Amazing. Let's wrap up. Okay, cool. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been a true pleasure. I definitely got a lot out of this. And I also just loved that I was learning from all of you and getting ideas from you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Maybe we can end with, I don't know if y'all do this, Mel, but in the groups that I'm a part of in our pods, we do this little ritual at the end of our calls where we make some heat in our hands, and then all together we snap, and then we put our paws and we do a little high five on the Zoom. Do you want to try it with me? We can do it together. I'll cue it. Okay, so we go. Making a little heat. Even Kirsten's doing it at work. And then 1, 2, 3, snap, snap, and high five. Awesome, y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for waking up early, Mel. And I'll see you on the next call.
Thank you. So many great ideas. Thank you.
So many great ideas.
Nice to see you all.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.